Get ready for a surprise!
Games, video 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 games.
It's March 4th, 2009.
This is Huddle Thumbs 21. And I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin. We win.
Yeah.
We're the winners.
We're the winners.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Hey!
We got a podcast for you today.
Yeah, we're back for another week of insightful
High octane.
fist crunching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of extreme fist crunching and not melancholy sounding, Chris, we got fucking Cyborg.
We did. We had if you listen to our weird news pod blast that we released last weekend,
It was a hidden.
it was a hidden
There was a
treasure.
secret blast, a hidden treasure.
Yeah.
A secret of the hidden treasure, if you might temple, whatever. Fucking
It was gold.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Next to Big Bird's bones was this pod blast.
yeah. We had a mouse that we discussed in great detail, and we're giving it away to someone who drew a cyborg on our forums, because that seemed like a good idea. Also, now we can give away a Steam code for Dawn of War 2, so whoever wins can choose either the mouse or the code, and then we'll give a runner-up the other one.
Yeah, so if you check out our forums, there will in fact be a new thread about this mouse and Dawn of War.
And you can vote.
You can vote for the best or most deserving cyborg.
Yep.
And
Maybe
that
the best cyborg
cyborg's owner will win a prize.
Most likely Dawn of War.
Well, you never know. A lot of people have that game because it's totally sweet,
True.
and you should have already bought it because we told you to.
I told you to.
But, Anyway, so you can do that. Go to our forums, forums.idlethumbs.net, and probably by the time you hear this, we'll have a thread up, and you can vote on it. And someone will win a sweet prize. Two people win totally sweet prizes. Yeah, great. Good job, us. Sweet.
Yeah, so how about those video games?
Yeah, I don't know. How about them? I just got back a couple hours ago from seeing League of Legends. Are you guys aware of this at all?
Yeah. This is the Defense of the Ancients spiritual sequel, correct?
Yeah, it's a couple of the guys. I'm not actually too. Nick, you're probably more familiar with the history of Defense of the Ancients than I am because I never actually played the game.
There were a lot of dudes who had a hand in that, but these were a couple of dudes.
These were some of them, yeah. Right.
That's the sort of trailer title card.
From some of the dudes.
There were a lot of dudes who had a hand in that. This is some of them.
Yeah, the community guy is the same, Pendragon, as he's known, and then I know there are other guys who are the same, but I just don't know all the team. And then one of the development director is actually from Blizzard. Interestingly enough, he did a lot of balance work on Warcraft 3 expansion.
Okay,
and I think also like some World of Warcraft talent tree stuff. And then he went to Red 5, which is that super mysterious, like weird MMO company. Nick, if you're aware of those guys,
yeah,
who still haven't
made a
said anything. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, now he's making this game and it looks really cool. I didn't know. I went to play it today and I didn't really know what I would think of it. Like I usually, by the time I go to preview a game, I already kind of
You've already decided if it's shit or not.
Well, I mean, just being in this job, we're so frequently just deluged with just like press releases and screenshots and videos that it's like you have a basic idea of like what you'll think about it, but
you can put a score on it ahead of time.
Yeah,
From the first
I was
trailer.
ready to say 7.5.
Yeah.
No, but with this game, since it really since it really is so similar apparently to its predecessor,
It's got like
I
a
hadn't
6.
played that. Well, it was a mod. I mean, it's not.
Anyway,
but anyway, I always heard it was cool, and actually, a bunch of the Valve guys played Dota obsessively. It's really hilarious if you have anyone on Steam, and you'll like every night those guys play that game along with a lot of other people. And so anyway, I went to play it today. I didn't really know how to think of it, and it was super goddamn fun.
Yeah.
Holy crap! The League of Legends one. It's really, I mean, for those who aren't aware of what Dota is, it's basically like a multiplayer action RPG. Is that, do you think, fair, Nick?
Yeah, sure.
You control a hero. It's in the the original game is in the Warcraft 3 engine. And you have your hero that can level up and get equipment and stuff, and then you fight against other heroes doing the same thing, and it's sort of just really small scale tactical, like you only have your one guy, and so it's sort of an even more extreme of kind of that weird action RPG strategy thing that Dawn of War is, but like just taken to the ultimate action RPG extreme of that.
Yeah.
It's just in an RTS engine. Whereas with this game, since it's not a mod, it's a commercial game, it's, less within the boundaries of Warcraft 3 because it's its own game. But anyway, it's really fun. It was super, super cool and like offered a surprise. I was sort of surprised at how much room there was for the tide to sort of constantly shift back and forth. It was surprising to me as someone who hadn't played the original mod that a game where you just control that one guy on your team would actually have that much.
What was the actual sort of situation when you were playing this game?
What was the situation?
I mean, like, who was there? What was the setup?
It was a press event. So they had a bunch of computers on a LAN,
okay,
and some journalists and some developers, and obviously the developers were just fucking demolishing people. But I did do way better than the other journalists there because I think most of them don't actually play PC games. No, it was just sort of funny. You could tell because it was like, oh, your health key is bound to the S key, and of course, as soon as I sit down at a PC, my huge PC gaming nerd self, my fingers go straight to the fucking WASD,
right.
As soon as I am fucking in a computer chair. And so I'm like, I'm on it. Healing now. But no, it was just really fun, a cool game. It took a long time. It was long. I was surprised. Presumably there will be
So you got your money's worth out of that?
Yeah, I got my money's worth out of this press event.
Sweet. What's the game called again?
League of Legends.
So on the internet, it's going to be referred to as LOL, which is maybe too
yeah.
bad.
That'd be deliberate. I don't know if you would do that accidentally and then be like, wait a second. Wait, hold up. Our game is LOL.
And our expansion pack, semicolon, close parentheses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. It's interesting. There are a couple Dota games. The Demigods coming out. When is this? When are they planning to release League of Legends? By the way,
this year.
Okay.
I don't. They're in a like super limited closed beta right now, and they're going to be like I think really really soon. I don't know specifically when, but it sounded like within a matter of weeks, doing a much larger scale beta that will be open. I don't know if it'll be open or closed, but it'll definitely be more open than what they have now, which is just kind of friends and family, like just a few hundred people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty goddamn excited about it at this point. Actually, I couldn't believe how much fun it was. It seems like there's been a lot of really cool.
How many? By the way, just how many heroes are there? Like, I mean,
there are over 6 heroes.
Well, it seems like a stupid question to ask, but I mean, right now, Demigod, the Stardock game, there are only like 8, and it seems sort of limiting because.
Yeah.
In the original Dota, the cool thing about it was that you could, there were just tons of different guys, and it sort of changed each
from
round
memory,
a lot.
It seemed like there were, 30 or something.
Yeah,
I mean, how many were there in Dota?
God, there were a ton. I mean, I don't even know.
More or less than 30.
I mean, there's so many different versions. Yeah, more.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I could be lowballing. I don't even know. I could be more than less.
As long as there's more than 8, then it's.
Yeah. No, there were definitely like
over 8 guys.
There were definitely at least a couple dozen. I know that for
that's
sure.
Cool.
Because they definitely said the word dozens at least once in that context.
Yeah.
So yeah, there seemed to be a fucking ton.
This seems very aimed at players of Dota, whereas Demigod, I think, is trying to go for that segment of people who have never played a Dota game.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it definitely seems like they're trying. I mean, I talked to the development director and the community manager, and it definitely sounds like they're really trying to make this game Dota just with an actual like tutorial and sort of make it more native to its own engine as opposed to like a mod of something else. And I mean, it definitely
like a WoW Dota.
A WoW Dota?
Yes. I mean, no, a Wook 3 Dota.
WoW.
Sorry. It's not WoW.
Wook 3?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Never mind. I like that you guys... I had never heard that acronym pronounced out loud.
Oh, Dota?
Dota.
Oh. Like, yeah.
Like Dota. Goaty.
You don't often hear people, yeah. When I heard the Dawn of War guys actually refer to Dawn of War as Dow, it kind of freaked me out. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I guess I never would have said that. I don't know. Defense of the Ancients is a really awkward name, though. I don't.
It is.
It's like Defense of the Ancients. Like it's
your option is.
Yeah, but like Dota.
Yeah.
I guess
I'm a horrible dork. I don't
it's
know.
fine. Dota.
I probably had never actually said that before today, but now I have. And now I'm
You've been called out
to be a huge dorky failure in Jake's eyes.
It's fine. No, it's cool. I'll play some Dota.
I'll play a LOL.
I'll play LOL.
It's funny that you say lol. I always say lol. I always think of it as like lol. Like that.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a drooling man.
Yeah. No, it is fun. I really look forward to it. I'm gonna try to get on the beta because that shit was rad.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yep.
That shit was rad.
That shit was fucking sweet. Yeah. So Nick, how about that Empire
shit.
Total
Here
War?
it
You
comes.
promised.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Promised a
I heard
goddamn update.
I heard
so
last
how is
week-
it? What do you think of Empire Total War?
Now that you've completed the
having
game.
completed the game.
I hate you.
Why? Because
it was so good.
I hate
because we haven't
myself.
played enough of it to be able to discuss it with
man. No. I don't know. Oh, God.
Just lie. Tell them you beat it.
You're so overwhelmed with the quality of this game that-
I've been waiting so long for this game, and it just never showed up in the mail. So I bought a copy on Steam like 2 hours ago.
So now it's downloading.
Yeah, no, it's not even downloading. You can't download it yet until like 2 a.m.
Owned.
Yeah.
You got owned. Now you got to
I'm reading a lot of
like
reviews,
you
like a normal, game fan.
What is this? Like a
Getting
fucking
psyched
plebe.
up for it. Like, actually, there were a couple
did.
interesting
Wallowing
things
in the
I saw.
filth of other internet gamers.
Yeah. Well, the reviews have been outstanding. I mean, Kieran
So
Gillen's
well
review-
written.
Yeah.
These are some of the most high quality reviews I have read in a long time. Let me just tell you, the game bullshit. But I mean, I have never enjoyed reading reviews so much.
Yeah.
As
Reviews 9.0. Anyway,
I mean, they gave the game a 3, but
but no, I mean the reviews have, they've been outstanding. Like some of them just so glowing that like game of the year type reviews. I mean really like just a lot of stunned people, which is really exciting because if it was just a good game, I probably would
You
have loved it.
can't wait
But-
to be stunned.
Yeah, but no, there were some interesting things though.
it got kind of 9s, and then there was that negative point, and they're like, I just didn't like how the French cannons from.
No, it was the naval combat. Everyone was, it was like glowing review, and then at the very end, well, I don't want to end without speaking to the negatives of the game, but
That cannon did not exist in 1768, and I just can't, in good conscience, give that point. I got to teach them a lesson.
I actually feel bad. When I dissed the Total War fans, I went back to the forums looking for examples, and I couldn't really find many.
The only post was by you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Oh my God.
Wait,
Nick Brecken. This is absolute bullshit. I'm a student of history.
Ratso fatso rat.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were you
I've
gonna-
taken 18 classes on colonial warfare, and I must take umbrage with your treatment of this historical era. Grain of assembly. Sorry, please.
Anyway, you were saying something
Assembly.
about Kieran Gillen's review or something?
Well, I guess I was playing Rome Total War over the weekend to kind of get ready.
Yeah, I saw I saw that pop up in Steam like 8 times this weekend.
Yeah.
Nick is playing Rome Total War. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Did you?
Nick is
Well, they just,
sadly
fuck that other
anticipating-
game and just
Nick changed the Steam shortcut so that people wouldn't know he's playing an advanced copy of the game.
Right.
Rome Total War.
Yeah. No, the thing I like about the Total War series is that even though there's no
There's so much
explicit
war.
story, well, yeah, that too, but there's no explicit story, but it's just as you progress, and I guess part of it's just the historical accuracy and kind of like the sweeping,
The Majesty.
yes, the magic.
The Purple Majesties is the correct.
Yeah, I'm putting this all in my review, but anyway, the thing I like about it is that as you're playing, each campaign is almost like its own story. Like it's just the way that you play the game. It's sort of you start out as this kind of meager little territory, and then all these things happen. There's just this ridiculous series of events. And there's so many different points in the game where the story that you're sort of creating just can completely change. And you can always tell too when you're at this point where if you don't win this battle, you're completely fucked, or
Right.
if you pull off this alliance or whatever. But Actually, Kieran Brigden, the communications director at Creative Assembly.
Oh, that Kieran. You're talking about reviewers.
Well, no, I was. I was actually referring to two Kierans, but
really, he's one of those. That seems like one of those cool developers where even the guys who are the communications director can speak at length about like the simulations in the game and like.
He made a post on the Shogun Total War forums, which is actually now just the general Total War forums, but forums. But he made this post that was like. God, it was like 8 pages long, and it was like the detailed line by line like series of events that of his campaign. It was at least like 10 pages long. Like if you pulled it out and just chopped it up into pages, it was just like ridiculously epic. And that's but I was reading it and I was like, this really isn't all that different from anybody else's campaign.
Right.
And that's just why I love the series so much is that every time you play, there, you could write a story based on what happened, and
then publish it and call it Dragonlance.
yeah, it was funny. I was reading an interview with him on Eurogamer, and one of the questions was just like, "Have you guys ever done like Lord of the Rings? Have you ever like thought of doing like Lord of the Rings Total War?" And oh god,
what did he say?
He was like, "Oh yeah, we all have our favorite, like." Oh god! That's somebody. I think the moderator of the interview was like, what would be really cool is Jurassic Park Total War. What the fuck? I know.
We married the Total War license with the Dino Park Tycoon license.
What about Aliens
Jurassic Park Total War? Hold on to your butts.
Predator Total War? I think it'd be sweet if you did Blade Runner Total War.
The one I liked was Cold War Total War.
That's actually I approve of that.
Yeah.
Cold Total War.
Yeah.
Total Cold War.
Oh yeah, Total Cold War.
Yeah. But people should check out that interview because there was a good question. It was
it was when he asked if they could do Battlestar Galactica Total War.
Yeah. I still want.
And he said yes.
Total Cold War, Total War.
Yeah. Total Edition.
Yeah.
It's like after it won a bunch of awards.
Right.
Total
like
awards.
a white box.
Right.
I'm sorry. The good question was what?
Battlestar Galactica. You nailed it.
It was about historical accuracy as related to sort of like social issues, and somebody was like, how do you deal with because in medieval Total War they had things like the Crusades, and you could actually jihad against another territory.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting.
Islam is the light.
Yeah, that's the sound that actually plays when you
as your armies march to war.
Islam is the light. Yes, sir. Islam is anyway.
We bring a message from our dreaded foes. Islam is the light. What could it mean?
Man, that'd be terrifying.
Sounds like gibberish to me. It sounds like a baby.
The morale of your troops goes down.
Or up.
I love a happy baby.
Oh,
That's so cute. That's adorable. I bet he's just a little darling.
Yeah.
And then it kills all infidels, and it's weird.
So as you're saying, Islam is the light.
Yeah, Islam is the light. Anyway,
Imagine Total War.
it was
I'm sorry, we're being horrible.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
being
fine.
horrible.
It's good.
Please continue.
No, I was just going to say it was interesting because I never really thought about it, but he was just talking about like slavery because this is now in the period where. Oh yeah, slavery. Everybody shuts up now. You can't say anything about slavery, can you?
No.
Yeah.
Hitler.
Actually, that was his response. He was like, "No, in World War II games, you don't actually, you don't see a lot of like genocide in World War II games, and there's a reason for that." And like, so I mean, I guess he has a point there, but
I guess he does. What?
Yeah. Well, no, the person was asking, is there slavery in the game?
Oh.
And he was saying, well,
that'd be weird.
You don't actually, like trade slaves.
No, that's a good point. Okay.
But actually you can become like an abolitionist state and you get some social bonuses, but you have, you lose production. And so, it's sort of,
I mean, colonization did that too.
Yeah, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, it was more...
Slaves aren't represented as actual units.
Right, they're not people.
No,
they're just a statistic,
unit,
right?
It's their 2/3 of a unit.
No, but colonization actually did... it was more explicit. Like, you actually chose...
3/5.
3/5, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's close. It's rounding.
Nick is well familiar.
Anyway, so colonization does something?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It's just an adjunct to
Yeah.
that. But no, that's a good point, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they
But
have
then Kieran was like, you don't see people like slaughtering Jews in World War II games, and there's probably a good reason
That would
for
be
that.
kind of
But
horrible.
Then I thought, I don't know.
No, it's fair.
Then I thought, hey,
Hey,
No, I mean, I think that,
Jews?
that's a pretty reason. That's actually a pretty good, snappy gamer comeback.
Yeah.
There.
yeah.
Well done, Kieran Brigden. No, that guy's cool. I did a long talk with him on a boat, and it was,
I was on that boat.
Candlelit.
it was it was great. Let me tell you. No, it was on a ship during a mock battle. Nick was there too.
You told me about that.
Yeah, and it was just the interview was it was a great interview, except the recording of it was a total disaster because it was just fucking cannons in the background and like fucking waves breaking and
Journalists getting like run
wind
through.
and- it was pretty preposterous. I should have printed it out to read, but it was literally I got the transcript back from the transcription people, and it was like my question was, so Kieran, when working on Inaudible, it really seems like you guys take an inaudible approach when you're trying to execute Inaudible. Would you say that's true? And he's like, yeah, actually, I think that's a really good observation. Basically, what we Inaudible is, and then, but really, Inaudible has been a great partner with Inaudible. Like, it was literally every single actual
the Mad Lib
meaningful
interview.
word.
Your interview was weirdly redacted by the military.
Like every actual noun was gone. It was pretty hilarious. It got better after a while because at the time I thought, God, I should really be fucking making sure he's really talking right into this mic, and so it got a little better. But the first like 25% of the interview was just comedy gold. It was
Yeah. I remember thinking as I was like hauling up the jib that you're gonna have a hard time like transcribing that, but anyway.
But it was a good interview. I mean, we talked about some of that same stuff just in terms of like if you're making a game about revolution, what do you do to try to model like the factors that would lead a particular society or colony to want to revolt? Like what all factors in that, and how do you actually represent that in an algorithm in a way that's not just totally transparent? Like it was cool stuff.
The first 10 minutes they play back someone's really shitty playback, and then you rise up you rise up against that horrible guy.
Yeah.
They play back my game.
Yeah.
Jake's game. But it's like a ghost run.
Right.
You see all the little dudes running around and just all dying, and
Right.
oh, that sucks.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, but it was cool. It's the kind of stuff that I always kind of associated with kind of like Microprose and Maxis and all those like cool old PC studios that just like made weird games that tried to model all that crazy shit all the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. That's a cool like weird part of PC history that now only
shadow
exists
government or whatever.
a few, right? Like only a few developers do that stuff anymore. But it's cool when they do, like these guys. And I'm glad it's actually being well reviewed.
Oh man, yeah. It's been pretty crazy. I'm gonna go probably stay up till 2 a.m. tonight, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you think you're gonna have time to actually download that?
Actually, no, it's 15 gigs, so yeah, by the time it's done, that'd be a little.
Are you preloading it?
You can't.
Owned.
There's no preload.
Totally owned.
Yeah.
You got fucking owned.
Owned by Steam.
Owned by Steam.
God, it's amazing how many people hate Steam still. Like it just blows me away.
The
Just
same
surrounding
people?
this game.
Is it the same guy for like 5 years? It's like I wanted to just get.
That's what it
Half-Life
sounds
2
like.
that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of depressing. But
Well, it would be nice if they just preloaded, especially at least things that were done.
yeah,
with
I mean that
Steamworks.
is.
You know what I mean? It's one thing if the publisher just puts it up on there, just sort of day and date, but it's not actually integrated. But I mean, if you actually have your keys working
Well,
with Steam, and it seems
yeah.
like that's the least you can do because you're guaranteeing someone's not going to play it until.
The bitch of this is that the retail copies can play it right now. Like,
Oh, really? So they're not doing the full integration.
No, it is Steamworks. They're just for
But
some
it just
reason there's a delay.
authenticates. So it's
There's
allowed
a
to-
different authentication time for between
Wow, that
retail and
sucks.
Steam. Yeah,
that's
it's awful.
fucking a kick in the balls.
Yeah, it is a kick in the balls, but yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
In your balls
Nick's balls have been kicked.
Yeah.
by Steam.
Oh snap!
I hate Steam. They kick
Man,
me
it's
in the
really
balls.
weird how people hate Steam still. I fucking hate it. I hate it.
Anyway, Steam's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Wait until they kick you in the balls.
We should take a break.
sure. Let's do that. Time for a break. A break time.
Steam will kick you in the balls.
Time to take a break.
Just gotta get the last word in here.
Break.
Balls.
Break.
Balls.
Ball Buster.
Video games.
Nick Brecken has been reading from the Akira Blu-ray book. Let's listen in.
I know, like, this is...
He won't tell you what it is. He won't read from
that
it.
was the perfect... This thing is, like, so long. Hold on.
You found it in like a second. You're like, I'm just gonna open this book.
Well, all right, yeah.
Here are the videos.
The subtitle of this section is called Hypermedia that activates the fundamental brain.
That's a section. That's a subsection.
Yeah, it's a subtitle. At the end of the long road, the Blu-ray of Akira stands as a finished product that, when viewed with the appropriate playback equipment, has the proven ability to activate the fundamental brain through the hypersonic effect, making the sound and video feel more beautiful, pleasant, and moving. And then there's a little graph.
Does it explain what is it? The hyper what? The hypersonic.
The hypersonic effect.
The Mass Effect.
This is something that they've coined.
Remind me to talk about Mass Effect.
Apparently, this is something that they just created.
I like that it's the hypersonic effect. Like, that is such an incredibly classic scientific thing. Like, that's even beyond sort of weird sci-fi bullshit. That really sounds like something you would see in like a 70s documentary that your
viewers
science
will begin
teacher
to
showed
perceive the hypersonic effect,
Exactly.
and then just like a weird like sonar,
or like a Moore pattern is
Right.
like shown on the screen. Like,
right? Well, sort of a synthesizer like weirdly reverbs at
right,
you.
yeah.
A media first for Japan and the world. At our research lab, we came to the academic conclusion that hypermedia content should be held to the following two standards. Content verified by standardized testing containing a signal rich in specific ultra-high frequency components that exhibit a complex and non-stationary structure far beyond the 20 kilohertz limit of human perception of sound, capable of producing a hypersonic effect, should be branded with a hypersonic mark.
It's actually just the Pepsi logo.
This is the little booklet that comes with the DVD.
It's a
Do
Blu-ray.
they explain what this is? Like, this is amazing.
This is something that they came up with, apparently.
We hired Ken Kutaragi to remaster the Akira Blu-ray.
Yeah. Apparently, sound that the human brain, well, that humans can't perceive, actually activates brain waves.
Is
extra.
this like those sounds that if you're under, like, 23 or whatever? Like,
It's just the mosquito sound.
Yeah.
you know what? It really actually depresses me because someone on the Shack was
You
talking
can't
about
hear
that
that.
recently, and I couldn't hear it. And
Oh, really?
It freaked me the fuck
I heard
out.
that. That same sound.
There is a thing, like a noise coming out of my computer speakers, and I can't hear it, even if I turn it.
Yeah,
like,
you're-
that freaked me out. It was like a scary thing. I'm like, what else am I not hearing?
You're not hearing the whole audio scope of Akira
the
Blu-ray.
Hypersonic effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought this Akira Blu-ray, and now I'm not fucking getting
It just
anything
sounds
out
like
of
a
it.
regular
It
Blu-ray.
just sounds like the movie that I bought. God damn it.
Well, it's supposed
But
to,
it
though.
also-
You're not
it
supposed
made
to
me
hear
want
it.
to, like,
I mean,
find out if
this
there's
is like the
any kids.
MSG of sound, I think, actually.
It made me want to find out if there are any kids who live near me, and I can just like record this sound onto a laptop and take some speakers and just put it up in front of their door and just crank it. And like their parents, I guess, would probably not be able to hear anything.
Unless
And-
their parents are me.
Oh, can you hear that thing?
Oh, yeah, I can hear it.
You ass. Now I just feel
Only special adults can hear that. That
I have
sounds,
terrible hearing.
yeah. Nick is engrossed in the
Nick has just
hypersonic
become
effect.
completely enraptured by the hypersonic effect. Any more juicy fucking quotes here?
Well, it's just stuff you can't hear. But
I just don't know.
It's like one of those happy birthday cards where when you open up the booklet for Akira, there's a little chip in there that plays this tone.
But in this
none
case-
of us can hear it. It's
You know what's
activating
funny?
brainwaves, but you know,
When you described that for some reason, and the hypersonic effect, I imagined opening a birthday card and just hearing like an entire song played out of orchestra hits.
like on the keyboard.
Right.
Well, we just sounded like morons right there.
Sorry.
This is a weird podcast this week.
Do you have an orchestra hit sample?
I do, yeah.
You want to just sneak that in here?
Remind me, yeah.
holy
Happy
shit!
birthday.
All right. It's listen to that, guys. Can you hear it? It's the hypersonic effect.
This guy says that we're gonna have to all get new speakers because a whole new film sound culture will open up before us.
Does this end with signed like Mike Matthews of the Hypersonic Corporation?
No, this is the I think this is the sound director of Akira.
Our website has a store.
We're all going to undergo a transition to the hypersonic age.
Sadly, this actually is
This
just
was
a thing.
actually written in character from an Akira.
That's what it sounds like.
You're all going to have to
it's
buy
the-
new TVs because the hypersonic effect is just the thing where it puts a red light on your wall.
It actually makes your kids have seizures. Pokemon had the hypersonic effect, but it was considered too damaging.
Dogs
so.
hate this, so please please remove dogs.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I remember watching Akira on DVD and being really annoyed because the score sounded like it had like clicks or like high pitched like annoying sounds.
Yeah, but if you had
And
a
now,
real sound system,
now I realize that maybe that shit
That
was
was-
just
you were missing
hypersonic.
That was
You were
the-
kind of getting the fringes of
yeah,
the hypersonic effect.
right. I
You
hadn't
sort
hit hypersonic speed.
your
it's kind of
brain
like-
was responding
it was
by
like-
being annoyed.
It's kind of like how a cube is only one dimension of like a 4D, like a hypercube.
Right. No, yeah.
You know what I'm
Kind of like
talking
how
about,
a
right?
cube is only one dimension of a hypercube.
You never
You
saw
mean
that?
like you want to back this one up? How a square?
No. I
is
know
like-
the ninth
is a
dimensions, right? The 9
two-dimensional
dimensions represented
representation.
by right, and then there's the third dimension, which is the cube,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
and then the fourth dimension is the cube, but in
right,
yeah,
exactly, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the cube that makes your brain deflate.
explode,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Hypersonic.
Then they made a video game out of it. We talk about those.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Woo!
Anyway,
This is our fourth dimensional
the
podcast.
hypersonic effect reminded me of Mass Effect, which is a video game.
Oh, right.
The sequel to which just announced the hypersonic effect.
Hypersonic effect. Yeah.
It's Mass Effect, the hypersonic effect, in the tradition of Starfighter, Jedi Starfighter, or
Yeah.
Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, another classic. Mass Effect, hypersonic effect.
Mass Effect hypersonic effect. That sounds like some weird like trip hop aliases of DJs or something. Anyway, Mass Effect.
2.
I've been meaning to talk about Mass Effect for a while. I don't-
1. Whoa, but 2 is the news.
Well, 2's the news. Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
That's also a slogan.
They announced Mass
the
Effect
news.
2.
Anyway, whatever. So-
Yeah.
And that reminds you of Mass Effect 1.
which?
I just wanted to talk about the name Mass Effect. Actually, kind of. Like when.
Oh, okay.
Well, when you
Not the
said-
game, just the yeah.
Well, sort of. I mean, maybe I'll have something else to say, but when you said like the hypersonic effect, like I really like stuff like that. That weird sort of enigmatic side of science where frequently you get stuff that actually is named that, but you're like, who the fuck? This like.
Right. No, I know what you mean.
Seriously, like this
Yeah.
is rad that you decided to, like the hypersonic effect. This probably is not a real thing.
Event
described in the Akira
horizon,
DVD.
right, the event-
right, the
yeah.
event
Like
horizon.
terminal
Yeah.
velocity.
That's badass.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Stuff like that is totally sweet, and it's actual stuff. And I remember when they announced Mass Effect, and they called it like the trailers did a really good job of presenting the suggestion to me that this game would exist in a universe where something called the Mass Effect
Right.
is treated with sort of a certain gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And because I remember I was at a preview event, or not a preview event, but like an E3 little demo thing, basically. And they were showing the game. It was really, really early. They had the trailer with that crazy, awesome synthesizer music, that stuff that really
Yes.
does sound like what I was trying to get at earlier with the 70s.
Yeah, like 70s sci-fi kind
exactly.
of cool
Just
vibe.
That
Yeah.
weird, like warbly, like airy, echoey
Right.
thing, and it's like Mass Effect, and I'm like, crazy. What is Mass Effect? What is that? And the guy's like, it's probably not what you think. Actually, it actually refers to a specific scientific property in the game. It's the Mass Effect. It's sort of the like spatial relationship or what have you that allows shit like matter to travel at this certain. I think they've made this bullshit up, but you
Yeah.
know, at this certain speed, and that leads to like fast travel that allows these
Oh,
ships
it's the
to get
spaceship. Yeah.
right. But
The hypersonic effect.
yeah,
more or
exactly.
less.
But I don't really care about the actual sort of technical stuff they invented to support that.
Right.
But I really like the idea
Sure,
that
it's cool.
instead of just being like, oh, okay, it's warp travel, whatever. I liked the idea that this game might actually treat
Right, it might,
some
it's
element.
about a culture that is sort of just
Yeah.
perfected this weird, crazy science.
It's very like Heinlein or something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But in reality, then the game comes out and it's just like, oh, you can fucking zip around to any fucking star system.
we
anytime
got the
you're-
Mass Effect button here.
Exactly. Turn on the old Mass Effect.
Yeah.
There you go. Punch it.
Was it actually
I'm sure
mentioned?
ME.
I'm pretty sure someone said punch it at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really.
Which would never be said if they were really respecting the Mass Effect. Please.
But yeah, all that early stuff for Mass Effect does make you wonder if just somewhere the tone of the game just got away from them, and they just sort of.
Yeah, it became a much more typical.
I mean,
it reminded.
I think that does happen when you're working on a project, whether it's like when I'm designing something like art or a game, or like when you sort of have been writing for the same outlet for a while, you're sort of like, oh, this is what that is, and what your mind sort of thinks. Like, this is what Mass Effect is. After like 6 months,
it just becomes more routine to you,
right?
Yes,
And you sort of. I wonder if that did happen on that game. I'm sure that happens on a boatload of projects where you just you have this great, really focused idea, and then a couple of the sort of easiest to acquire assets from that grand idea sort of just fall into the sort of default 3 things that you knock out every time you make a new piece of content for it, and then you look at it at the end and it's like, oh, I guess I made that. That wasn't quite what I was going for there.
Yeah.
But,
right? And who knows? I mean, a BioWare game is such
right.
Any BioWare game is a project on such a massive scale that it's hard to, you know what I mean? That Jake just gave me a little smirk there. Yeah, it wasn't intentional.
Jake's the pun
but
police.
those games are so enormous that you do. I imagine it would be hard to sort of carry that specific, a weird vibe like that. It's not a very common vibe, but I really was hoping that's what they're going for. To an extent, I'm just sort of imagining, like, I think it'd be cool if they did this.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was that, I mean, I thought it was going to be more grounded in, not in reality, but at least, closer to reality. Whereas the actual game was, space aliens, and, it seemed very Star Wars by the time you got through
it. It seemed like the fiction aspect of
it's the fantasy.
Right, but I mean, it seemed like the thing that made it science fiction was supposed to be, at least when I, early on in hearing about Mass Effect, I thought that was going to be what was sort of fresh, both to me as the player and to the people in the universe.
Yeah.
Right, exactly,
but instead for the people in the game, it's just... It's routine.
Well, it's just like it was the classic thing where each of the alien races just represents a different archetype of humans. It's just like, oh, these are the angry aliens, these are the quiet aliens, these are the aliens who look exactly like hot human females, except technically they're asexual. Coincidence? Interesting.
Yeah.
Like it's that stuff where I'm just like, I don't know. And what's funny about, despite the fact that all that stuff about Mass Effect disappointed me, I was talking to Steve about this the other day. There's something about that game that was still really solid and appealing and robust in a way that a lot of BioWare, seems like a lot of BioWare games age faster. Like, even if they're really good games that you can still go back to and appreciate.
Well, that's a result of the Mass Effect.
I don't know. And I've seen this echoed on forums too. I've seen a lot of people be like, man, I was thinking about Mass Effect recently. I'm going to go back and I'm just going to play that for a few hours. And I've had that same exact sort of tendency myself, and it's I don't know what it is, but it definitely makes me excited about the sequel. But I do simultaneously wish they had gone for more of that, because I just don't know very many games like this where they would have actually treated it like humanity is actually trying to come to grips with this crazy thing they've discovered and this fucking universe full of crazy shit, instead of just like, well, zip along to the spaceport, gonna deal with these aliens and talk to these dudes, and
you know, I don't know. I kind of wish that game hadn't been about saving the universe.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, to me, that's sort of when it became very typical.
Saving the universe.
I know, yeah. It's just at that point, I'm kind of like, I mean, that's
something you and I have talked about a lot. Is that just in all genre fiction, it's so easy and lazy and disappointing when, like, instead of it just being about regular people who like have encountered this amazing thing, it's like, you're a regular person. But
you're the chosen one.
You're gonna save the galaxy, or like your friend who's a regular guy.
You know
he's a wizard. Like, oh,
you know what that game?
Yeah, stop it. Why is everyone a wizard?
Yeah.
FreeSpace 2,
a fucking space wizard.
Right.
The wizard.
You're turns out the parents you never knew, they were the king and queen of space.
Yeah. The king and queen of space.
Can't they just be about regular people doing incredible things?
Or even if there are
to be gifted.
It's not like they have to. It's not like it has to be The Sims where you're fucking balancing your budget.
Right.
It's like people can. I mean, fucking stories have been told about people doing fucking crazy shit that doesn't involve magic.
You would think for all the people who burgle the Lord of the Rings and Aliens.
Right.
You'd think they would look back at the fact that those stories caught on at first, probably because Frodo or whatever. Ripley. What? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she's not a fucking space marine. He's not like a mage. Yeah. They're just dudes.
Yeah. No,
and if those guys were like, I'm a super cop, it would be like no one would watch those movies.
Ripley, super cop.
Well,
yeah.
RoboCop's a regular dude who then becomes a RoboCop, and he doesn't like it though. I don't know. I mean, that movie actually is interesting.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The second one, maybe not so much, but games seem to get everything except the part that actually made it interesting in the first place. And it's like, wait, what if it was Lord of the Rings, but you were the ultimate warrior who could easily get the ring from the beginning?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Anyway.
I was just going to bring up FreeSpace 2 as an example. Like, that game has a very similar overall arc in the sense that it's about, an alien race that's coming to destroy everybody, but you're playing as like, just this random dude. Like, there's no, you're just a guy in like a squadron, and all this shit's like happening around you.
Yeah.
But you're not like the guy who's gonna save the goddamn universe. It's just, the stuff is happening, and you just sort of, you get it in bits and pieces in your missions, but you're not, directly involved in the saving of anything. And, I mean, even like the overall, like at the very end of the game, there's a huge event, but it's not conclusive, and it's not, it's just not a giant cliche, I guess. I mean, it is like the concept
don't you eventually sort of like awaken an ancient mystical power within you that
right, or you find out that your sister is the princess, or no.
I'm pretty sure you find an ancient artifact that allows you to absorb the long dormant spirit of a great god, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay, that's what.
That was FreeSpace.
I played that game, so I was just I remember.
Yeah,
but no,
that sounds pretty
kind of
fucking rad.
Yeah.
Was there a turret?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go. Got all the bases covered. Yeah, but no,
but it's the mystical turret of
the chosen turret,
the ancient
only
turret.
One man can man this turret.
Actually, that describes a lot of games. Only one man has the huge waypoint that materializes in front of his face.
King of turrets.
Nags him to get on that goddamn turret. It's fucking you.
Anyone else seeing this huge arrow?
Am I going crazy or something? Get on the turret, man. Now you're telling me to get on the turret.
Run to the arrow. Wait, did you guys?
You are Gordon Turret.
Man, sorry,
Gordon Turret.
That squad mate.
Go, Mr. Turret,
go!
go!
Like 6 hours ago. No, he's telling me to go to this dot in the circle. No, dude. Anyway.
Wait, I took off my crazy navcom thing. I still see it. Jesus Christ! I think I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
That happened.
That does happen.
Yeah.
In every game.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then you blow up a dude.
You do. But yeah, Mass Effect 2 is in development. In fact, BioWare just opened up a new team within
a
EA.
New can.
God, which EA studio?
Montreal.
EA Montreal, to assist BioWare's original Edmonton studio do it. I don't know. I mean, for all the shit I piled on Mass Effect, I really did think... I played through the whole thing, and I would like to see the sequel do more of the stuff that the first few hours of Mass Effect did. Like, I really thought, like, without question, for me, it was like 5 hours. For most people, it's probably a lot fewer than that. But I spent like 4 or 5 hours on the initial space station part of that game.
You were so psyched about it, you just kept walking around?
Yeah, because there were all these people who had crazy problems they wanted you to solve, and it was like actually like doing it in the classic sort of Western RPG style of there being all these cool things, like all these ways you can subvert them.
RPG,
if a guy asks you to deliver a thing, you can either deliver it, or you can not, or you can just shoot the guy you were supposed to give it to. Like, it's really cool. There's all these contingency cases for stuff you can do, and a lot of these little storylines intersect, and they're all optional to the extent that you want to do them. And it was really awesome, and it made me really. There are very few games that actually come out that are like that these days. I mean,
and the first 2 hours of Mass Effect came out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was really psyched about it. And then there was some of that stuff later on in Mass Effect, like on the ice planet and stuff. But
sweet.
Yeah, I know.
The lava planet.
Yeah.
But the beginning was the
planet.
part that really resonated with me for some reason. And also, that was before it turned into there's an ancient evil that you've got to kill. So, you know.
It just seems like the second the giant plot kept pushing everything forward, it felt a little like you're being rushed. I don't know. I have a feeling that the sequel probably will do more of the other thing.
I hope so.
No, I mean like
The bad thing?
The bad thing. Yeah.
I don't hope so.
No. Yeah.
That's not what I hope.
That's generally once you've fallen off that cliff in genre fiction.
Yeah.
Like
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I mean, extreme cases in point: Star Wars, The Matrix.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, those are obviously the examples that are cited all the time. But holy crap!
Yeah.
At that point, everyone knows each other, and you all have a shared history. And every
Right.
single person, even the guy who was like known for being the novel token character who didn't have crazy powers, suddenly like breathes in mystical dust and gets blue eyes for the sequel.
Yeah, because the guy playing him like renegotiated his contract.
Right.
Was like, look, I'm not going to play this stupid character anymore unless you give me powers.
Right.
I want to be a chosen guy. Me, I'm the one.
Yeah. So Mass Effect 2, blue-eyed guy will inhale some dust.
Yeah. I look forward to that.
Yeah. Speaking of sci-fi games, Tabula Rasa, right?
Oh yeah, Tabula Rasa. Yes.
Terrible segue.
Speaking of a game where, but not really that terrible, because like in the introductory cutscene, there's a bunch of humans like in houses, and then it's like the aliens came and we discovered the power that's been in us all along.
Yeah.
And they have glowing hands and shit, and it's like, oh, good job, guys. Like, what? Seriously? Like, I guess you did that.
I think they spent like $20 million on that opening CG and probably like half of that on the game. That's what it seemed like anyway. But
it was I was also really offended by that, not offended, but just like offended in terms of how facile it was. The little thing in the introductory cutscenes where it's like, we never saw it coming. We were too busy watching reality TV and chomping down prescription drugs.
Grinding in MMOs.
Like, oh, really? Yeah,
exactly.
Too busy doing these things to like detect the presence of a fucking alien.
Yeah, right.
I would have been.
We should have known.
I would have been out there with my fucking crazy supersonic effect or whatever. Like
that one guy in the rocking chair with the shotgun, he saw it.
He saw it coming.
The rest of us were collecting pelts.
We all learned from that man.
All the astronomers, playing WoW. Asleep at the chair.
It just seemed like such a lazy way to make a social point. It's like, come on, come on now, seriously.
Anyway, long story short, it's closed now.
Right.
Yes.
Anyway, all that being said, as far as MMOs go, it seemed like a pretty fun one. Actually, I don't know. Like from what I've heard,
too bad.
It had some good ideas.
I know.
Anyway, it's pretty good.
I'm just saying, like, from what I heard when it launched, it was pretty uninspiring. But it seemed like by the time it shut down, it seemed like they'd actually, I don't know, built it up a little bit.
It was kind of crappy still, but
really,
yeah.
Had you played?
I actually thought some of it was inspiring at first. I mean, there were some good ideas going on there. It just didn't.
I like that I could just run around and jump and shoot all the time. Like, I like that I didn't have to stand. No, seriously, I jump like 100% of the time in games, and I like that in this game.
I remember that when we were playing WoW. In fact,
I could literally just jump around the entire time and shoot a gun. So that was pretty cool.
It did that well.
But yeah, I was in there for the last 2 days basically of the game. I registered an account. I downloaded the client and registered an account on the second last day.
And then you just griefed people the
whole
whole time.
In, I couldn't help it. I went in and I'm like, hey, what's up, dudes? Brand new to this game, but it seems pretty sweet. I like that there's guns and stuff. I really think it seems pretty sweet compared to WoW, which is all like elves. So yeah, like I'm pretty new, but it seems pretty good. Like, what do you guys think about this game? I'm glad they're doing this free trial right now. And it was just me being a douche for like 4 hours on Friday. And people are like, I really don't understand how you could not possibly know. I mean, how could you be so misinformed? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It was free. The website, and if you go to the website, it still says Tabula Rasa. It's a great game. They took away Richard Garriott's name on the webpage.
It's no longer Lord British's Tabula Rasa.
Yeah. But actually, eventually, I started feeling bad about being an asshole because...
you imagine
you guys
Richard Garriott crying.
Well,
Richard Garriott crying in space. Like floating in space.
Richard Garriott looking down on Earth, a lone sparkling tear.
But mainly
drips onto the face mask of his spacesuit.
The inside of it.
Turns into a crystal. That's his crystal growing.
Tears.
His crystal growing out of his tears.
Oh man, Richard Garriott. I can't even imagine making so much money off of computer games that you can afford to just at the drop of a hat be like $30 million. Never see that money again. I'm going to spend that for a few days in space. I mean, it's cool that he could do that and like did it. But
do you think he was logged on during the closure of Tabula Rasa?
as General British, just sort of like
he used to log on and do events.
It had been more than 3 months since he logged on, so he started out as a level 1.
You're right.
Account got cycled through. Oh, come on! He's trying to. Can someone power level me?
The office is like totally empty because they're all. Yeah, that'd be sad.
No, but the reason I stopped doing the goofy shit is mainly just because actually, people were actually responding with like complete sentences and sort of trying to be helpful. Yeah. And I was like,
it was actually this MMO has a community that types and cares.
It actually was a decent community.
It actually made me really surprised because the only MMO I've played for more than 6 hours is World of Warcraft, which I played for a couple months, and Jesus Christ, the general chat in that game was
do you think
wasteland.
The average age of Tabula Rasa was probably higher? I mean, if you're a game from the guy who made Ultima, you're either going to say what or I'm old and I'll play that game. So I mean, you're going to get the complete sentence crowd.
Yeah.
With that advertising campaign.
No, it's true. I mean, I was definitely shamed enough by their mature behavior to stop being a jerk myself, and so then I just started playing it for Friday night basically, until I had to stop because it's an MMO. And then I mean, like at a certain point, it's like, all right, I'm just fucking killing a million animals. And then on Saturday, I logged on. It was crazy how different it was on Saturday. On Saturday, it was just like explosion of just madness as people were like, fuck, when's it going to start? Like, when does the thing start? Should I have to go somewhere? Shit. Can someone level me up? Holy shit. How do I get to the place? Mods were giving out free level 50 upgrades and shit. It was crazy.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, it was weird. It was cool of them. I mean, the mods were getting into it. The mods were sending fucking all your base messages like to the entire server and shit. It was pretty good.
The end of this game was just basically the sort of antagonists of this universe just destroy Earth and then they turn the server off, right?
They just spawned a bunch of mods, level 50
humanity loses.
Yeah, the mods played as like super crazy epic enemies and just fucking spawn camped the humans. It was hysterical. Like they literally would just like go right up to the sort of hospital where you respawn and just fucking stand there and stomp on people like as they spawn. It was pretty fucking fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's the sort of thing that you actually sort of hope would happen before an MMO gets shut down. Of just like, wouldn't it be great if just for a day the mods just turned it into what you think it should be?
They do that in World of Warcraft occasionally, actually. Like, before expansions come out, they have events where that like crazy shit like that happens.
It's like before they open a new freeway where they let everyone walk and roller skate all over it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And the Matrix Online was like built around stuff like that. Like they had a writer, and you know,
well, wasn't Galaxies too? Like you'd see Darth Vader just like hanging out.
Like, they still have a guy who plays as Darth Vader.
There was the story about the group of people who role played as stormtroopers and would like
than the Tabula Rasa guys. Like the guy who still plays Darth. He's like he played Aladdin at Disneyland.
I'm so tired.
That one thing really made me happy about Galaxies. It was like the MMO equivalent of a human interest story about a bunch of people who would role play as stormtroopers and drill and stuff, and LucasArts finally like caught on to them doing that, and then they just landed Darth Vader in the middle, and he's like, "Good work," and then he just leaves. It's totally awesome.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's pretty great.
That is pretty good. I mean, that's pretty fucking.
I
great.
approve of this. What?
Carry on.
See you.
Peace out, homies.
I don't know if they had voice. James Earl Jones. They got Chad Vader.
Everyone got into the act.
George Lucas showed up
to do mocap. It was amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, so you were there when humanity fell.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I don't know, it was an interesting experience. It was like a combination of sort of genuinely like affecting while being completely goofy and also just plagued with technical problems also, like, which just introduced like an entirely other weird out of character element to it. Like,
this game was never built to do this.
It was like literally everyone, presumably from every server, came in, like, because the servers went down like cascading. So the West Coast server or the East Coast.
Were people saying that? I was like, East Coast is offline.
Well,
it's the aliens
scramble.
I mean, that was like 6 hours prior, but it was
like rats jumping ship.
By the time the last server was shutting down, it was just like presumably everybody who still had an active Tabula Rasa server on there. It was just the mods actually ended up splitting it up more into.
They instanced you,
which was a good call, and I don't know, it's pretty crazy. It was worth observing.
Yeah, it's cool that they actually did something, because I mean, games like Asheron's Call 2, as far as I remember, they just, you know, one day they flipped the switch.
Actually, you also frapsed this, so if you guys want to check it out, you can go to youtube.com/idlevideos and watch some of this stuff.
Well, you can watch actually there's a video of just some random shit, and then the video of a zoom in on a chat.
Yeah,
so
the chat.
those are both like the last 3 or 4 minutes.
So if you want to watch the frapsing of Chris Remo, embedded journalist, you can check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, I was writing and I wrote a piece on If you go to Gama Sutra, or search for fucking Tabula Rasa's, I don't know, something. I go to Gama Sutra and I wrote a piece about it, and I was up late last night writing it, like pouring through hours of Fraps videos to find like quotes to cite in the story. It really felt like I was doing some weird like review of embedded journalism where I'm going through all this like footage and screenshots and photographs and shit. It was pretty weird. It was a weird thing to write.
That's kind of cool.
It's weird writing about like MMOs from that perspective.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
No, it was cool. It was a fun thing to do. I'm glad I did it.
Sweet. Have you guys got anything else you want to do? Reader mail, or is there?
Oh, I want to quickly throw out a mention of a game that I've been kind of playing off and on for the DS called The Chase. Felix meets Felicity.
Oh yeah.
It's nobody is going to play this game.
Because of the box art?
A shame. Well, because of the box art, because I literally haven't seen anyone.
The visual style of the game also
anywhere.
just looks like a game that isn't as cool as it is.
Yeah, everything about the game looks like it's like some budget shovelware marketed for like 7-year-old girls.
Yeah,
basically everything about it except the gameplay.
Watching a gameplay video of it though is pretty exciting.
It's like it's a side-scrolling 2D sprite-based platformer that is sort of like in between Sonic and like Kirby Canvas Curse on the DS. Have you guys played that?
Yeah, it reminded me of Kirby.
Yeah, which was one of my absolute favorite DS games. And basically, you run across this. You run from point A to point B, just like a straight line. Then there's sort of other like as in Sonic, other sort of little angles you can go through that will give you like extra shit you can pick up.
Right, and your guy sort of grinds on stuff and that sort of thing. Your guy
can grind through stuff on stuff, pick up speed, and like you could draw lines on the screen to sort of surf up through the air to get to areas that you couldn't just jump to, for example. It's really cool. It's a little frustrating. It's definitely a game that could have used some more just iteration on just sort of tuning out some of the just little weird things that occur, like when you get hit by a guy and you go into classic platformer invincible mode where your guy blinks after getting hit. You can't actually harm any guys in that mode, which means sometimes you can't get away from the guys until you become solid again, by which point you're already right in the path to get down. Like, it's just little tiny shit like that. And if you can just kind of get past those little things, the core gameplay is pretty unique. I mean, there's no other game with these mechanics. And I just want to mention it. Razorback Developments is the company that did it. They do a lot of contract stuff for hire. And it's I imagine it probably was tough for them to get like a completely original IP out, like with their branding on it. And I don't know. It seems like the type of thing that would be, if you might like a crazy, weird, like stylus enhanced platformer on the DS.
High-speed platformer.
Yeah,
people should definitely like YouTube a video, because I mean that will sell it.
Right.
I mean, it sold me.
Yeah, we'll try and post a YouTube of it in the thread.
Have you played it, Nick?
No. I will buy it.
You saw the videos and it's enough.
Like,
it's one of those things that I haven't played DS in a long time, but when you showed me that video, it's like, oh, sweet. I'm going to play that, and I'm going to play GTA Chinatown Wars.
Yeah,
and my DS will be used for the first time in a year.
Yeah, but the trailer looks great.
Yeah. Cool.
Sweet handheld thumbs.
Oh yeah, we can do some reader mail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sweet. Let's read a mail.
Read a mail.
Read it. Oh, I didn't print any out.
And now some stuff we made up.
We'll be back in a minute.
Dear Idle Thumbs.
How come you're the best podcast? Stop saying rape all the time.
Oh, snap.
Reader mail.
All right, yeah, so I printed some of it out. I didn't do that before.
Nice.
Yep, all right, here we go. ATN writes, "Hey guys, I love your podcast and really enjoy your witty banter and critical analysis of everything gaming related."
Our critical mouth.
What
a retard.
My analysis skills aren't very good when they come to words. On your latest podcast, you mentioned flight simulators, and although I really like those, I enjoyed the TIE Fighter series and the FreeSpace series as well. FreeSpace 2 being the last great space simulator. The Nick might...
That sounds like a magazine ad quote. FreeSpace 2, the last great space simulator. IGN.com.
IGN.com. They actually said that about Viva Pinata. It was weird. The TIE Fighter series always stood because of the complexity of the game for 1994. Adjusting your shields and thrusts, all the secret missions for the Emperor you did. I miss those kind of games. I also like the Mercenary one, Privateer, or MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, and its RPG-like elements with random missions. I know today's games have similar structure, but they seem either overly complex, like the Armored Core series, or too dumbed down. I'd like to know your thoughts on these types of games. Are the space combat games also dead? I don't count the random console shooters like Hawks. What about the random old man Clancy's Hawk? What about the random mission elements in games? I remember in some games I had a real sense of the progress of the character story, but in others I feel the random missions are superfluous at best. Anyway, sorry about the long email. Love the podcast on my face. It's always a good time. ATN, I'm French Canadian. It's pretty great.
Sorry.
Jake's been chuckling to himself.
The thing about character development in these, it's not actually about the exact games that he was talking about, but one thing that we always end up talking about in design meetings at Telltale is how in the Wing Commander games you'd get thrown in the brig for blowing a mission, but then you'd go and look at the at the kill board in the lobby, or in the cantina, and it's like your guy 500 billion kills, and all the wingmen 2. That guy got one time when you were slacking off, but if you blow one thing, and it's like you're fucking out of here. Like what? I'm single-handedly winning this war.
Yeah.
So that's character development in Wing Commander games.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I remember this dude at just Wikipedia having the potential to sort of suck away time by putting you in a weird, horrible spiral of never-ending information connections. I ended up reading about ace baron status and all that shit, like all the fighter ace, if you're an official fucking fighter ace and all that shit. Yeah. And after playing games like TIE Fighter as a kid and stuff like that, it was like, you're a confirmed ace when you get 5 kills or something. Right. And I'm like, fucking 5 kills? I do that for a training mission and TIE Fight. It was really weird. Those games created a very skewed image in my mind. I mean, I don't know if the number's 5, but it was, some number that is not 500 or some ridiculous thing where it's that's, as someone who plays computer games, that's how you think of, flying dogfight battles. You're just fucking there shooting them down left and right, eating popcorn. Just there goes another one. That was a really
it's the George
sobering,
Lucas perspective.
And somehow I went my whole life without ever stopping to think maybe that's not what real flight combat is actually. I think probably if I had sat and thought about it, I would have realized, but I never actually did. I just never thought about it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's
to this guy's question. Have you got anything to say? You, Nick, seem like the person who might say something.
It's the last great flight sim. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get another one as good. That's my opinion.
So you think it's dead and gone?
Buried? I think it actually is. Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know.
It's tough to answer, I think.
It is tough to answer. I mean, we spoke about this a little bit last,
people
podcast.
Still love
but
sci-fi shit.
People still love sci-fi.
Yeah, but they don't trying.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think part of it's just a PC game. I don't know. I mean, you could do FreeSpace 2 on the console. I mean, you could. But you wouldn't have a flight stick in your hand, and it wouldn't feel the same. And I think, part of it, and he was sort of speaking to that, part of the beauty of something like FreeSpace 2 was the story. I mean, it was actually a really well-told story. And I think more than just a straight-up flight sim mechanics or anything that's, has gone by the wayside, I think that is something that is sort of lacking from a game like Hawks. I mean, that's just clearly a cookie-cutter bullshit, a bunch of, I mean, that's just, all right, you're going to go in and shoot some dudes. That's the premise of that story. But FreeSpace 2 is actually an interesting, had an interesting frame. And, the Star Wars games, did some of that too. I mean,
some of them did. TIE Fighter did.
Yeah, X-Wing Alliance was pretty decent.
The Star Wars games of that vintage, Dark Forces and X-Wing TIE Fighter, they told far more interesting Star Wars stories than they had to.
Yeah,
for sure.
Probably not coincidentally, some of those games anyway were made in the same building, or at least with the same people who are actually making really good story-driven games. I'm sure some of that leaked over to an extent. It's if you're at a company that actually puts an importance on that, it's more likely to occur.
Right. The guys who are going to be beating up your game in the design review might be the same guys.
They might not be the same guys designing it and writing all the dialogue, but as a company, you've got that culture that sort of puts.
Anyway,
I think a lot of that's just now. If you were thinking of a game with a good, I mean, I don't know. I guess I could see a story that is as good as some of those games were being made into an RPG. In other words, I think that
or even a shooter these days.
That genre, shooters, RPGs. But I don't think if people had a good concept for a game, they wouldn't go, "Hey, we should make a flight sim out of that." You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just the throwaway genre now. It's
it's just the same with real time. It's the same with real time strategy. I'm playing Dawn of War 2, and as much as that game is awesome and I love it, and I'd recommend it on just immediately. The story is so stupid. It's just. I mean, do you think that's just stupid?
Do you think that's one of the aspects of games? I'm always sort of concerned about this. That that evolved out of the genre accidentally. Like, I mean, over time, that aspect where, like, it's not something that the community was vocal about. It's not something that people reported as being the reason they bought the game, but it might have secretly actually been one of the things that,
I think so.
like, where it's like,
I think so.
You come for the core mechanics, you stay for the fact that it's actually
then 10 years
engaging
later,
out of the fact.
10 years later, everyone talks about that on a forum. But maybe at the time,
I don't. It was like, wow, you're fighting this big spaceship, great, But then they did that in Rogue Squadron with a sort of cookie cutter story, and people were like, wow, you're fighting spaceships. But
I know,
you can almost trace the decline of flight sims.
Someone I think on the Shack actually made a comparison between. It was like, in 1993, the Star Wars like fly around and shoot stuff game was TIE Fighter. Now it's fucking Rogue Squadron.
Well, I mean, like the Rogue Squadron series was just this steady decline. I mean, it was just even like the first game was not bad, but it slowly became this series where it was like almost like a sports game where they were doing the same types of things over and over again. Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Squadron 3, and but I mean, it was all just throwaway bullshit.
In the X-Wing series, there's like you see sides of the universe that you'd never seen before. You're sort of uncovering or creating weird, crazy conspiracies and then in
TIE Fighter was all about that stuff. That was rad.
And but then in
I played TIE Fighter before I saw Star Wars, and it held. No, I mean it held.
I think you've said this before.
Yeah, it was just cool that I didn't need to already be a huge fucking fan
but then
of Star
Rogue
Wars
Squadron is bullseye 20 Womp Rats in Beggars Canyon, shoot the Death Star.
Here's a really good example, like Independence War. I don't know if you guys have played that at all.
No, actually
we have not.
It's more or less. I mean, that game. I'm trying to remember. I think there were there was a mission structure in the sense that you were completing sections of the game. I'm pretty sure there were optional missions, but within each mission, you were actually warping around a universe. Like hyperspeed or whatever, going between different points, and it was almost set up like an RPG. You would get to a point, there would be dialogue things, and it was just this open world type, flight sim kind of, interesting thing with decent stories and side quests and things like that, or at least side stories that weren't pertaining to the overall like save the world mission. And just like random stuff like aliens. It was kind of like the fallout of flight sims in a way. I just like, I could see something like that coming back. But I don't. It would have to be something like a Fallout 3 type situation where
someone would have
somebody would have to really
care and make a big deal out of what they were doing.
And the problem is I don't know what series you would do. You certainly wouldn't see them doing like an Independence War 3. So I mean I think FreeSpace was maybe big enough to bring back, but maybe I don't know.
I have to say this. I'm going to make a statement that is extremely contentious and possibly stupid, and maybe you guys can just say I'm retarded right off the bat. But it does seem,
I don't know if I'd use that word.
You might. But it does seem like there was, and I'm speaking as someone who, and I talk a lot about playing PC games in the 90s because that's what I did in the 90s, but like it does seem like there was a certain tradition that was sort of connected to your LucasArts, your Looking Glass Studios, your Origin Systems, all those studios that really a big part of sort of their mandate was to try to tell really interesting stories across pretty much every conceivable genre. Like there was no notion in those days on the PC that story, even the adventure game, which was sort of the story genre, was not exclusive to that at all. Like an RPG or a shooter, which were early shooters in those days, or a space sim, or like a crazy simulation game, the only exception being pure sandbox games. Pretty much all of those kind of strong PC genres were made by those, like some or other of those companies, with multiple examples of really interesting, in-depth stories that were, and I don't think there was an analog to that on the consoles that I know of. Like I don't really think on like the SNES there was that equivalent, or like on the PlayStation
consoles
so much.
Tried to get I think console games that were notable for anything of that type were console games that evoked similar feelings through core mechanics. I mean, like obvious example is Zelda and Metroid,
right?
Which have nothing to do with story, but they, you know what I mean.
But that's a different,
traditional.
Yeah.
I
know. But I mean,
that's more what the console was.
I know. I'm
was,
not trying to say that they're doing the same thing. But I mean,
but I was going to sort of. I always thought of the consoles as being more cutscene driven with the stories, but like I mean, when you think about the PlayStation, that's what that was all about. It was that brought in like so many
the crown jewel of stories on consoles is what, Japanese RPGs, right? Which
well, in those
just
days it was, yeah, right.
Well,
which is a pretty terrible way to tell a story. I
Yeah, it's Metal Gear Solid
and
cutscenes or Ares dying in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean that's
Ares, yeah.
Or Ares, whatever.
Oh,
well, I don't know, Ares, God of War. I don't know. That's, you know,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
just saying. But yeah, no, and I feel like that. There are certain strengths that each of those mediums had as separate, like console and PC. Like Jake, when you bring up, for example, Metroid, like some of the atmosphere in Metroid, that stuff was amazing, and it was out. A lot of it was because that game wasn't actually telling the big ambitious story that a lot of those PC developers doing, and it allowed them to just really hone in on a mood. And I kind of miss the days when the two different types of game development had those. Like these days now, there really isn't. With the exception of crazy niche genres like hardcore simulations and strategy games, which are still mainly on the PC, and then certain genres that are mainly still on the consoles, like platformers and stuff, things are a lot more just kind of blurred between the two, and it doesn't seem like there's as much drive to really explore those two avenues to the same, like, really amazing degree there was in the 90s on respectively PCs and consoles. Like, I really do not see very many games in that mentality being made on the PC at all. And they're not being made on the console instead. They're just not being made, and it's too bad. Like, it's really too bad. Like TIE Fighter, there really is nothing like that now. Like, it's interesting that I don't know if that game is considered too complicated or what. Like, it's definitely, when I think about playing it, at the time it seemed like I was doing a lot of shit. I'm like, I was diverting my shields.
There's a lot of shit going on.
But it didn't ever feel overwhelming. Like that game. I mean, you guys all played TIE Fighter, right?
Yeah, we were like 12 years old though. I mean, you could learn a fucking instrument when you're 12 pretty easily. But if you're 30 years old and you're trying to like fucking readjust your shields and shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess I really don't. I mean, maybe.
I mean, even now today,
really sad if that's true.
Well, I think it is. I think it is to a degree.
You think you're teaching an old dog new tricks?
Well, I think it would be difficult for older gamers to. That's an increasingly large demographic.
I think people are less willing to accept that stuff as you get older. You just look and go, "This is bullshit." But when you're 12, it's like, "Sweet, I can control a shield."
It does go to what we were saying before. It's like I could be playing God of War and it'll just tell me to press the X button.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that is connected.
I'm going to say a thing that is probably stupid, so bear with me, because it's probably actually inaccurate the more I think about it. But when I think about PC game developers in the 90s, I sort of do think of them existing sort of in a weird vacuum where they are churning out product that people are buying, but they never really, up until probably when the PlayStation came out and they sort of started merging in with the more mainstream world and porting games left and right, I don't think that they didn't exist in sort of the public sphere the same way that like games or the new movies do now, or that like Super Mario did.
A lot of the bigger ones were independent too, right?
Yeah, that's true. There were
the ones I mentioned.
But that's sort of. I mean, that sort of plays what I was going to say. Is I mean, it feels like there are these sort of little groups of dudes in secret game caves making things, and one of the things. When you're talking about story, and that's actually where I was trying to go with all this, was back to what you were talking about with those developers sort of successfully infusing story into all of their things. And I wonder if that was a weird sort of cave version of games as film. And that's the part that sounds dubious, but it's one of those God, it's so hard to explain what I'm talking about. But you know how sort of when you try to take a stab at something, but you don't actually know how it's done, and then you end up making something that's either a million times more ambitious or comes at it from such a different angle that it ends up
the Citizen Kane of games.
No, not that. I mean, like if when these people were thinking about, okay, games are going to evolve.
Oh,
we've got to infuse them with story. How do they do that?
Right.
And then you come up with this completely amazing thing that has nothing to do with anything.
The 3 Mile Island game or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or you end up with stuff like you end up with stuff like Thief or
Free Space
game.
Maybe
the experimental phase of game development.
Right, but I mean, at this point, game developers are so in the public limelight. Games are owned by huge entertainment conglomerates.
Yes.
They, at this point, unfortunately, know how a movie is made. And they know how narrative in that way works, and they know all this bullshit that you shouldn't actually know if you want to make a good story.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's part of it, is it's not people...
that's really depressing.
There are not studios that are just operating in a complete vacuum saying, I wonder what a story in a game would be. Maybe it's this amazingly weird, completely original invention that I thought of completely independent of some VP telling me, no, he's the chosen one. You know,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably not actually. I started it by saying it's them trying to do movies, but I think that is kind of, there was all that talk of games growing up, and people did start doing all this sort of weird narrative stuff. I don't know.
Regardless of the platform
that's
stuff,
I
think Jake is onto something as far as the experimental phase. I mean, I think there was a time when how do we, what are we going to do to, kind of appeal to an audience? And, obviously a story is something that's pretty basic that you would think is something that's necessary. A good story is necessary.
I think people got that far and it made sense. And then at that point, the next step is just some weird guy's like, what would be cool? This. And it's like,
right.
I guess also that's cool.
Yeah.
Having that weird, like, sort of semi-invisible bubble that was big enough that there were enough people to sell these games to, but not quite so big that you had to, that everyone was sort of getting consolidated into larger publishers and selling, needing to sell 5 million copies on a big AAA Christmas game. Probably that in-between point was allowed what you guys were talking about with that sort of like, we're going to make a game that fucking does this and it's this genre. Like, how do you do that?
We should make a special called the AAA Christmas.
a very AAA Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah. The Idle Thumbs Christmas special.
Yeah. It's not about cars, though.
No. So that's what we think about TIE Fighter.
And that's our show.
Yeah, you guys want to do one more, or are we done? That was like a half hour answer.
We have to do
right. Jay Allard's sex scandal?
Oh my god. We really have to do that. Yeah. Okay, so Jake and I quite a while back heard a weird rumor about Jay Allard, like a very vague rumor about Jay Allard. Didn't we hear this like years ago?
I remember hearing something shady, but I also remember, who knows?
We heard something weird about why Jay Allard was not.
I think all we heard was that there might be a weird reason, and I don't know if we heard any more details.
Well, there was definitely an implication that it was sexual in nature of some type.
Okay.
So anyway, like Jay Allard, as anyone who follows enough stupid game stuff to understand this podcast knows, was once a lot more present and like.
Yeah, he gave the Microsoft keynote sort of unveiling the whole Xbox 360 HD era community microtransaction stuff. That was at GDC 05 or something?
Yeah, I don't even remember. Yep.
Yeah.
And
so he was the voice of the 360.
Yeah. Almost overnight,
voice.
he sort of just like disappeared out of the public eye and was sort of like put in like some other segment.
He was put in charge of the Zune, but he didn't. You didn't really hear him talking about it.
Exactly. And so we have some further explanation of this from an anonymous source who we know, but we're not going to divulge his identity here.
I don't know who this person is. Anyway.
Okay. Well, that's okay. I do. Some quick backstory on where this came from. So he says, working on one of the very early Xbox Live Arcade titles, there were Microsoft producers assigned to each game to help us through the console's development, since the console itself was still under development. They would work on multiple games at a time and keep things on track on the Microsoft side, making sure we were meeting milestones, getting the game through the certification process, etc. They were actually an awesome team, and it's sad to see none of them are still there after the Greg Canessa nuclear meltdown vaporized everything. That's a super duper insider reference there, Jesus. So fast forward now to GDC 2 years after the game shipped. I was catching up with one of these now ex-producers who had since moved on to a new gig. The subject of Jay Allard came up, and his meteoric makeover and rise to Xbox fashion model and spokesman, and then his X-Files-like disappearance. He filled me in on the official rumor around Microsoft about what had happened. Apparently, there was a secret group sex circle / partner swap thing going on up at Microsoft. No joke. Jake has an amazing face. Not some crazy porno gangbang, but more like couples on shag rugs, wife swapping, swingers parties, and so on. It had gotten to be about 25 to 30 people and involved staff from all levels, including secretaries to executives to developers. So
just put your gamer tag in the basket when you come in.
Yeah, they're projected up onto the wall.
Oh my God.
Like all parties, eventually it came to an end when a lot of sexual harassment suits were filed, and it became obvious that this thing existed unknown to some of the Microsoft higher-ups. Names were named, but it was all very hush-hush and hidden internally because it was embarrassing, due to the fact that it was formed completely out of Microsoft employees. I think there was a lawsuit essentially settled out of court, but not sure about that. So Jay Allard was apparently involved in this sex group, and when it got back to a few marketing executives, I suppose a bad case of head exploditis got around. Big old Jay Allard was quickly shelved into a quiet spot out of the public eye, and that is when Peter Moore appeared on the scene as the new public spokesman. Sincerely, the dude wailing on his axe in the sunset with a top hat.
Peter Moore's sex circles still to be uncovered.
Now that Peter Moore is over at EA, his statute of limitations is up. On his own personal Microsoft.
If Redwood Shores is rocking.
Yeah. So that was a cool thing. Just
that was a cool
sweet.
That was a cool, weird.
And on that note,
for someone to say. Someone also wrote in to mention the new Flashbang Studios game, the underwater game. What's it called again?
God, I always want to say Blurst because that's the name of their site. But
Blurst.
I feel terrible. I was watching a trailer of it today.
I can't think of it now.
Blush.
There we go. Yeah, it's like Blurst.
So those guys released a new game, Blush on Blurst.
Yeah.
It looks pretty cool. It looks sort of like an underwater thing with sort of the mechanic from Velociraptor Safari in that you swing a tail.
You grab eggs and swing them into a capture thing. Yeah.
So Malcolm Crum wrote in to remind us about that. Thanks, guy. Also, we got someone from ModDB.com read into us about a mod called the Nameless mod for Deus Ex that talks a lot about kind of the open-ended stuff we were talking about last week, and I think we're pretty much out of time at this point, but ModDB is a cool site. They also, I just want to mention also on my own that they released their Mod of the Year awards a few days ago, and the top one went to Project Reality, which is a Battlefield 2 mod, and Mountain Blade got a couple also.
Sweet.
Yep. People keep saying we should check that out, and I keep forgetting.
Mountain Blade?
Mountain Blade, yeah. You don't like it?
I don't know. It's for those Total War guys.
Like you?
No, I mean the guys who are complaining about the...
okay.
Yeah.
About cannons not being right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's the show.
Sweet. The sirens are telling us we need to turn it off.
Yeah, that's the air raid. Time to get out of here. I'm so tired.
Fiction.
Yay. All right.
Sweet.
Out of thumbs.
Baboo.
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 Video game.
And now it's time for Retard Retread. Redo a piece of shtick from a previous episode. I really like what you guys dumped on the PS3. Could you do that again? Thanks.
Honk.